All right. Um, Here we are.
Oh,
Um, Going live on the day after the election or days, 2 days. Um,
yeah. I think needed a day to really sit with this decision, to sit with my rage and my tears for a day, and going up and down with emotion because of it, and asking myself so many questions. So the Heal Project, um, we're talking about how much we're looking for answers and reaching out to community, that this is the perfect time to continue to reach out to our people, our constituencies, the society at large, to talk about this, what I'm calling this new world order that it will be coming through, and how to, yeah, how to manage, how to handle this change somewhat.
yeah. Yeah. And in many ways, I can think of a lot that I'm grateful for. Mostly just, the difference in what this is doing to me now compared to 8 years ago.
Mm,
Um, and even 4 years ago. I mean, 4 years ago, I was very disappointed to see that this wasn't a clear choice, even though, it's still to see that this is still kind of like, oh, okay, just barely.
hmm
We can just barely say no to that. Um, but at this point, I'm grateful for seeing that just how much my own capacity for holding the grief and the severity of this situation has expanded. And
hmm
I am sure that it is because of this journey of this process. I mean, 8 years, we've been working together for 9 years now. As at a time I just started, and it has been this work that has shifted my perspective around who holds power. What's the important work that I want to do in this world? What are the changes we can make that are um, really, I think it has calibrated my perspective towards people themselves,
hmm
um, and who I am and what power I have within myself. So I think all of that is right now, especially really showing up for me to
yeah,
help me hold space for myself and a lot of people around me. Yeah.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I am definitely holding uh, this change, this shift, very differently in my body, in my soul, in my spirit than I would have several years ago. And that is through the healing and the work, that I have been doing, we have been doing collectively at the Heal Project, like the work of grounding and understanding and navigating our emotions, to do the work that we need to do, rather than using the rage and the anger to replicate what is continually done to us, because it's the only thing we know, right? It's the only thing that we've been navigating through. But with this, I keep saying change, but this is something that's been coming. We've been feeling these effects, and with this, I'm really hoping that as a society we can see the utter, so like, absolute necessity to do the internal work that we need, so that that can reverberate out into the world that we want.
Mhm.
Too often enough, because we're navigating situations and horrors and trauma, we are merely surviving.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, sometimes that survival brings us to the work, our passion, because we are surviving, we need to do this work. Um, and that survival has gotten us to a lot of places, but we want to have a sustainable outcome, right? This long standing outcome that really touches each of us, not just me and my internal work, but my the work and the energy between, you know, our neighbors, the people we work with, our family members, the stranger we do not know,
Mhm.
um, the healing work that has happened. I mean, within our movements, healing justice work, even through transformative justice work, has been so vital. And yet, we are still far away from it because I feel like we have had these um, ways of looking outwardly to systems for a better way to navigate things, for things to alleviate, you know, stressors. And because we haven't done this internal work, or because we haven't yet mastered this internal work, we tend to fall back on the cycle that the system has put out, like carceral thinking, the ways in which we have power over other people. Um, so we replicate these things sometimes without even knowing it in our own organizations, in our own families, in our own relationships. I have done this. I feel that I can confidently say that we have all done this
Mhm.
because we live in this world. We live in this, you know, the United States of America. That we have used these tools. And it takes so much to work to dismantle those tools within us and grab and dream and envision new ways of doing things. Um, you know,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think about how there's definitely the tendency or like wanting to take that route of pointing the finger or um feeling alienated, feeling really distant and alienated. I mean, it's very disorienting
yeah,
to sit with the fact that there are that this many people who um who are seeing, what you and I or people like us might be seeing just so differently. And
yeah,
to dismiss that, to dismiss their perspective towards the world. And for sure, I think that's kind of, 8 years ago, I had this almost, I don't want to, I mean, there was I had hatred towards Trump.
hmm,
Um, I had a lot of, strong feelings, but also I had a lot of strong feelings about people who supported him.
right,
Um, and here I am 80 years later. Um, I it's not that I don't have fear. It's not that I'm not concerned, but I don't think I can't really look at the other side as so separate, so distant from myself.
right,
I really I don't know why, but it's like that is, and I don't see that to be very constructive in
yeah,
any way. I still feel like I still truly believe that we have more in common than we don't. Um, and and that ultimately it is people versus um those in power.
yes,
Ultimately, that's what the reality is. And I have to remind that, and people are people, regardless of, who we may have voted for from the two choices we had.
yeah,
And this may not be a very comfortable thing. I don't think this is the most soothing thing for a lot of people to hear right now. Like there is this sense of wanting to feel self-righteous, wanting to feel a victim, wanting to like those are the soothing things, perhaps for some of us. Um, but that's just where I find myself, is that I still am inclined to want to build bridges. I'm still inclined. I think this work has brought me to look at everything from a relational lens, and this is no different.
yes, yeah,
This is not a different. This is to me pointing to a deep relational dysfunction on a national level.
absolutely,
And it absolutely affirms everything we talk about, which is that these things start from family, from religious community, from schooling, to the normalization of getting used to, getting familiar with, and then comfortable with relational dysfunction, and then celebrating that, and then, getting behind that. These
hmm,
are not accidents. These are the consequences of
Yeah.
not questioning those power dynamics on the micro level. And that's what we
Hmm.
get. So as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned, the work is still on that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is still as much as, I mean, we have all this struggle, constant struggle within the funding world because we do long-term work and funding world philanthropy is so focused on the immediate. Um, and relational problems are deep, long-term problems to address. So
Hmm.
as far as I'm concerned, the same problem that caused CSA caused caused this to happen. It's the same relational dysfunctions that we can point to.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so hard to want to give like attention to that long-term issue or the long-term solution or the sustainable way of thinking about
Hmm.
this because we're anxious, we're
Yeah.
afraid. I mean, we're like, who can claim to do this the fastest?
Yeah.
Let's try them and then try them and then try them and then try them.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking about what you just said in terms of like, this is, we're not so, um, different, right? There's a lot of things that there are a lot more similarities that we have than we have differences. And I believe that this is all, like, it speaks to me in terms of binaryism, right? We often talk about non-binary within a gender context, but it is non-binary in so many other ways, right? The binary between good and evil, the binary between winner and loser, the binary, these are these binaries, and then we separate ourselves into these camps. And it is so much more intersectional, complicated, and layered than that is, right? Those are fast and easy ways to digest things. It's so much more complicated to look at the nuances and the layers of these things, right? It's almost similar to like, the court system,
Mhm,
that is like, it is like, we need, this has to be clear. It's either this or that. You're innocent or you're guilty, and we're going to prove these things, right? And these, ideas of who a person is and what they went through in their lives, these are things that people try to inject in there because we know it's important, right? Lawyers do that and stuff, but it's not really what the system wants. It's like, this person did an act that was against the law, period.
mhm,
How they grew up, if they were abused or anything, doesn't really matter. And yet it does.
mhm,
It actually does. These are all the things that make us who we are. We have different experiences, different perspectives, different information, lots of different information. So, what that person thinks over there, we might not agree with, but that person got that information from somewhere, right? That person was reared in a particular way. The
mhm,
same way I raised my daughter to be, sexual liberationist and to question things and all that stuff is the same way somebody raised their kid to be something else. And they stand by that, right? So when we think about people's like beliefs and cores, you're right when we say like that person is completely an idiot and wrong. Why would they do this, right? Because that's our knee-jerk reaction. It's like our knee-jerk reaction is like, we're right, you're freaking wrong. Like, why would you even vote for this man, right? Um, and yet there's a story behind that.
yeah,
Whether it is for power, whether it is to maintain white supremacy, whether it is to, because they really think it's the right thing, because it's the religious thing to do,
mhm,
whatever it is, there is something there. And to write it off as such really, contributes to this kind of binary carceral thinking. And so as a society, or as a movement, or many movements, I should say, there is no one movement, as many movements, lots of us are have been on the abolitionist tip for years. Some of us are just getting on, some of us are understanding it better now, but to really grasp and understand, kind of work moving forward, thinking about work as an abolitionist practice, or using abolitionist tools or abolitionist thinking. In order to do that,
yeah,
that takes a significant amount of work. The idea that the theory that we are living in a world that is non-carceral, and we think about um, solving problems without hurting, harm, uh, dealing with harm without causing more harm, right? The idea of it for many is a great idea,
Mhm.
but, and this is a big but, in your everyday life, in your everyday life, are you able to grasp onto abolitionist tools? And I guarantee you that for most of us, it is very difficult. It is actually an act, an intentional act we must grapple with, we must engage with every single day. I know I do,
Mhm.
because it's not an easy thing. Because again, even though my perspective is different from another person's perspective, we have been a part of this um, system, the United States. We've been here, so we are getting all this bits and pieces. And it's like, how can we get to that beautiful big place, this dream of the possibility of not having more prisons, or ending what we know as, how we deal with justice? How can we even get there if it is absolutely impossible for us to do it and within our own lives, to think of things in a way that is layered and complicated and nuanced, like that it is not just column A or column B.
Right.
And that's really hard to start to change that thinking. It's really hard to change that thinking. Yeah.
It really is. I feel like, I mean, on some level, I want to say animal brain, but not to simplify, but like on some level, I mean, animals have more also complicated thinking, but it really is difficult to step outside of the binary thinking, and the practice of abolitionist values, um, for me has really the challenge for personally for me has been in thinking that collective responsibility. How can I keep coming back to that piece about what you said, collective responsibility for, well, yes, that person thinks so differently from me, and they have their reasons. I'm not the logical center here.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have my logic and that person has their logic.
Right.
I can label them with things and dismiss them, their logic. And ultimately, none of us are logical. All of us are primarily emotional beings.
Yes, yes.
We all rationalize our emotions and we think
Hmm.
there is logic behind it, but it's ultimately an emotional process. And emotional processes are directly affected by relationships.
Hmm.
So it's absolutely about who's around you and how those relationships are, how
Right.
alienated you feel in this world, how pushed away you feel by those who think they are better than you, or if you think they're
Hmm.
better than others, right?
Right.
It is absolutely ultimately, again, relational, deeply relational. Um, and that question of how can I still show up with the awareness that there is collective responsibility to be held for, like, I play my part in that, and also there is self-responsibility. And the
Hmm.
balance of these two, I think, it's the thing that makes my brain hurt at times. Because it's difficult. I don't have the answer to it. It's not just a
Right.
simple like I'm gonna put my best intention forward and things will
Right.
fall into place. So yeah, it's again, this might not be a time for us to get thinking too much and maybe just letting the feelings do their thing and give ourselves time to be sad,
Hmm.
to grieve, to hold, to care for each other and all the things that are showing up.
All right.
But when all that has taken its course, yeah, what is next? What is next for us? And I want to offer folks just a little bit of what we're doing at the Heal Project and
Yeah.
how we are moving forward. Um, that we have been, this year has been for us a year of building infrastructure, working
Mm.
on a lot of projects, and we'll be making announcements on that. If you are not, you haven't joined our mailing list, please do so. You'll hear about it soon. But what I'm really excited to also that the program we're offering, and hopefully we'll offer more than once, but coming up is in December 12th. Save the date, December 12th. We are offering a program called a webinar, When Harm Hits Home, Dreaming Beyond Punishment. And this program has really, it's these conversations about hearing so many of us struggle with that piece about sexual relational harm that is not over there, some celebrity, someone distant, but it's showing up in our workplace, in our families, in our friend groups, and wanting to deal with it in a way that's outside of the carceral responses, outside of the binary thinking. What do we do with that? How can we dream beyond the punitive punishment measures that are offered as like kind of the first place to go?
Mhm.
So we'll have a webinar. Hopefully, many of you will be there to help us together figure out,
Right.
create this framework, because there's no time that this is more needed. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I also just want to, this is a little extra plug for our integration sessions.
Mhm.
I'm very excited about these. We have monthly integration sessions at the moment. There's one monthly integration session that might increase to more than that. And these are sessions specifically for practice. We think about these things in theory, right? From theory to practice. The people that engage in these integration sessions are people that have gone through our Just Healing retreat. And we will have other opportunities for that Just Healing retreat, whether it be online, an online course, or in person with us online. And once those trainings or the retreat is over, usually when we go to conferences or we do educational things, we feel so enlightened and empowered and great. And then we have that drop, right? Because we go back home and then it's like, I'm not around those people anymore. I have the ideas, but I don't know how quite to integrate them into my life. And that's where the integration session comes in. This is where you come back and you share and you talk about the ways in which this process, this practice is unfolding for you. It is a process for each and every one of us, and so we hold each other in that journey. So I'm really loving the integration sessions.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I hope that you're able to join us for the webinar. We will be putting out more announcements with more what we're doing, conferences we're going to. So join our mailing list, and also please donate if you can. We very much rely on people, not
Yes.
government, not a state. Very occasionally philanthropy, but those are very
Yeah.
far and few in between. But we rely on people who believe in this work in order to keep going. And coming up to 9 years, the HEAL project will be 9 soon. And hopefully we'll keep going because of your support. So please feel free to go to heal2end.org/donate and make a donation if you're able to. And yeah, keep in touch. Feel free to reach out to us. This is a very disorienting time.
Yeah.
So inviting all of y'all to keep taking care of yourselves and just remind yourself that once the feelings are done, at least mostly done. I don't know if they'll ever be done. Um,
The heightened
the
feelings.
Haydn's, yeah,
Yes.
it's it
Uh,
there are beautiful people out there. There is wonderful things, and there is life is bigger than this election and this coming administration and whatever it is they want to do. People throughout history have always been better and stronger than
mhm.
any group of people who've been trying to oppress them. And that's what keeps me going.
Yes, we've heard this over and over and over. We, the people, have the power. We do.
Mm.
We absolutely do. And so we use that power and we cultivate that power. And that is through the healing that we do. That is through the unlearning and relearning, deconstructing and reconstructing, really fine-tuning our ability to dream, visualize, have fantasies about the world that we want to live in, the way that we want this to be. And this is long work, right? This is not quick like that. This is the work that we put into ourselves our communities, our families. And so please just reach out to one another, love one another, and listen to one another.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.